So, with all of that in mind, I am really, really pleased to welcome Kate Jenkinson, to join us today. I was reading your bio, Kate, and I mean, there's so much I could say, but I gather you've had a 25 plus year career in, as an HR director in engineering, science, and educational sectors. Of
Yeah,
course, now you've established your own business.
yeah,
But before we start, it's probably worth saying about how we met, because it was a
yeah.
bit serendipitous in a way, wasn't it? It was
I,
sort
I,
of.
I think so. Yeah, I
So
was invited to the business analysis conference in London, and as a guest, and in my capacity as a conference and business poet, and I was being introduced to people at the conference and the exhibition, and that's how we met, wasn't it? And had a great conversation.
we did, and you gave what one thing you did at the conference, which really astounded me, was obviously in a positive way, was you went to various sessions, and then in the closing session, you summarised a number of key themes in a poem
Yeah,
that you had created during that day. Because you were
that's
there
right.
for, I think you were there for one day, were you, or for both?
I only managed to get there from about 11 that
Wow.
morning. So, yeah, the poem was created at the event. Hearing the afternoon keynote and the closing session, and I went to a couple of other sessions in the afternoon.
Yeah, yeah. So before we get started with your presentation, a question that I'm sure many people will have is, what is a business poet?
Yeah, there's a
I know
great.
that's probably a difficult one to answer.
So, I think a business poet is somebody who doesn't believe that there are boundaries between the logical and the poetic. So, the linear way of thinking and the creative way of thinking. So, they bring both those aspects into the work that they do. So, the way it manifests for me is that an executive coach. So, I help business leaders develop their leadership voice sometimes, and we do that by developing the words from the values that they hold important. So it's not one practice, it's a number of different practices that involve the power of words in my own business. But I'm only one version of a business poet, Adrian, to just blow people's minds a little bit more. I'm gathering a community of business poets together, probably a bit like business analysts. You know, there wouldn't be one flavour of business analyst, I imagine. There'd
Mm.
be people who have their specialist interests. So mine is HR and development, organisation development and culture. There are business poets who are focused on marketing and messaging, and then there are others who work with leadership and that kind of thing. So a business poet is somebody who crosses those boundaries and helps with the not knowing in organisations, just to bring a bit of mystery.
Yeah, no, that is really interesting. And I suppose another question which immediately springs to my mind is like, and I know you've had a really, a sort of broad career, but like, what led you? What was the path that got you there?
Well, it was a very squiggly path, let's just say that. And
All the best ones are, aren't they? I mean,
yeah, I could just say corporately, I started life as a research scientist in biological sciences, got a PhD at Manchester University so I did biology, geology, and botany. Because I'm never satisfied doing one thing. I think you'll see a pattern here. Um, and after that, I decided I wanted a career in development, helping people develop. I loved that when I was in my university years. So I retrained as an HR professional and then worked for 25 years as an HR professional in organisations going through change mostly,
mm,
acquisitions, integrations. So places where nobody really knew what good looked like on the other side, and I helped them navigate that. So I think I brought a lot of clarity to those organisations by being confident in the unknown. And I think that's what poets do. You know, we all start with a blank page, and it's our responsibility to find the words that will fill it in the moment, which is kind of what I did at the conference. using the words around me and the wisdom of people around me.
Wow, that's really interesting because as you are talking there about the blank page and I'm getting this sense of like the future emerging in organizations, not necessarily knowing what's the other side, but knowing a broad direction. I'm in my own head, I'm thinking about that's really interesting because, I know from stuff I do, like editing is really hard. And actually, one of the things which I think everyone I have worked with finds difficult is like, it's easy to write a long thing, but actually editing or create so there's something in actually getting stuff down to its essence as well. But gosh, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think we're probably getting ahead of ourselves here. So I should probably just turn the platform over to you, Kate, because I know you've got a presentation to share with us. So
I I
over
have
to
it.
you.
It's very interactive, so
Excellent.
there's going to be participation for people and quite a few exercises. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen, Adrian, and
Perfect.
we can get started. So we called this presentation "The Blank Page: Unlocking the Creative Mind: Lessons from a Business Poet." I've been on this journey for 10 years. You asked me what journey I was on. Well, really focused on poetry and business in the last 10 years. And so a lot of these experiences are things that I've had myself and I wanted to share with you. So we said that in this session, you'll explore your own imagination spectrum. So I love the fact that there's an emerging science of the imagination. It appears that we are as unique on the inside as we are on the outside. So we're going to find out a little bit more about that. Hopefully that's something interesting and new for people. We talked about the blank page a couple of times, literally and metaphorically. So as a scientist, I love literally a blank page. I'm delighted when I'm presented with one. And as a poet, a little bit skeptical of what I'm going to write down there. So we want to know what your relationship with a blank page or the metaphor is, the unknown. And then where does your natural creativity come from? And to give you a few sort of word prompts to help you do that. So we'll do a couple of exercises around your own creativity. Just to warn you, there's some Slido QR codes coming up. So if you have your mobiles to hand, ready to do that, you will need a blank piece of paper and you will need a pen. So have those to hand. The other thing you'll need is just to sit back and enjoy listening to some poetry. So, I love this phrase. Maya Angelou is known for a number of phrases, but I found this one and I thought she's a genius again. So, she said, you can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. And I think that's wonderful. So some people will say they're not creative, they feel quite embarrassed if they're asked to be creative, if they don't feel like they are. The reality is the more you practice it, it's like a muscle, the better you can get at it. And creativity is not art. So I wouldn't say that I'm a great visual artist. My creativity is in words. And it's the simplest form to start to practice. So I invite you to follow me and Maya Angelou into this adventure. It's a bit scary though, isn't it? And I often start with presentations saying it is, but everything that grows starts in the dark. There's a metaphor about being a seed. And, when you feel that you are at your lowest or darkest hours, it wasn't that you were buried, it was that you were planted. So I'm hopefully planting a seed for you today about creativity being something that is within us all. I love this metaphor as well, and you'll probably see why when we go into this next exercise. So yes, this is an intentionally black screen. What I'd like to invite you to do is to imagine. And to do that, I'd like you to close your eyes. I'll follow the exercise with you. So close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, I'd like you to imagine a horse. And as you're imagining this horse, I'd like you to look closely at its features, at its face, at its body, and notice things. Notice what colour it is. Notice how clearly and vividly can you see the features on this horse. And in your mind's eye, is this horse on its own? Or is it somewhere with others? Whereabouts is the horse? What's the environment that it's in? And is this horse one-dimensional or three-dimensional? Is it perhaps moving? Is the environment that it's in active? Can you see things moving around it? And you might be enjoying this time with this horse, wherever it is. I'm just going to ask you to just almost take a picture of it in your mind now, so that when you come back into the room, I'd like you to open your eyes now, that you'll be able to answer this next question. So if you see the screen now, you can see some representations of what you might have visualized in your mind's eye. And these are given a number from 1 to 6. 1 is blank. You weren't able to visualize anything. You closed your eyes and it was black. You might have been able to make out some outline of the horse, rough features. That's probably a 2 or a 3. But if you're able to sort of see where it was, this one's in a field, a green field, it's on its own, probably 4 or 5. And 6 would be if you could see the horse and you could see its mane blowing in the breeze and you could see the grass moving. If it was visual and you could see this, then you're a 6. You don't have to share if you don't want to, but I love it when people do. I was in an event yesterday doing this exercise, and it really surprised me that a lot of people in that group were 6s. I have a hunch that this group might be different. You're a very different background than this other group. So if you feel like you're able to put your number in the chat, that would be amazing. I see I'm wrong already. Oh, amazing. I'm seeing a lot of 5s and 6s. So we've got people who have got the visual imagery that's like a motion picture then. 6 is movement. We've got some 4s and 5s. So we've got clear imagery, but maybe not so much movement going on. What we don't have are people at the other end of the spectrum, the 1s and the 2s and the 3s. Well, I'll put my hand up, but I'm a 1. So I don't have any visual imagery. Yes, it shocked me as well. I can see a little shock emoji going up there. I'm a poet. How can I not have visual imagery? I found out probably 6 years ago when I was having some coaching for my poetry to improve the imagery in my poetry. And I thought, why do I need to do that? What's the point? Because I didn't need it to be able to experience the poem. There's more to that story, but for now, what does this mean? So there are words now to this imagination spectrum. These words only came into being in 2015. So they're only 10 years in the scientific world, in common language, a lot similar to the words for neurodiversity. So somebody like myself with no mental imagery has aphantasia. If you had imagery that wasn't that clear, hypophantasia. So mostly the people here have got phantasia, which is they're able to make voluntary images in their mind's eye, and hyperphantasia, able to make voluntary images that are moving, 3-dimensional. I envy you. So my theory is blown out of the water because quite often those people who are aphantasic are often in STEM professions, so science, technical, mathematical, and I'll show you a little bit why that is. So first of all, the imagination spectrum, you now know what it is, you now know where you sit on it, and know that people have different experiences. It might blow your mind to know that it's not just the visual sense that is different in our imagination. So I have a really strong sense of sound, and I have a really strong sense of connection to emotions. So a feeling sense. So those are the two things that promote and give me an imagination, an inner sense of wandering, mind wandering and musing. Some people will have an inner sense of taste, of smell. Um, so, like I say, we are as unique on the inside as we are on the outside. I want to just give you a little bit of flavour about the ends of the spectrum that are unusual. So aphantasia is unusual in the population. There's about 3 to 5% of the population who don't have the ability to visualise voluntarily. The word was it was taken from the word fantasia, because that was the word Aristotle used to describe imagination. And I have a book that I want to show you because I think it's brilliant. It's The Shape of Things Unseen by Adam Zeman, and he is the scientist, the researcher who named the, I was going to say condition, it's not a condition, who named this difference in imagination. And it's been known since the 1800s. So it's been known, it wasn't named, and the imagination spectrum is incredibly powerful influencer on how we take information in and make sense of it. So I'm aphantasic. How on earth do I do an exercise where I'm imagining a horse and I can't see anything? I haven't got the slide in here. What happens is it's like a word cloud in the shape of a horse. So when I imagine something, I imagine it conceptually. So it's the idea of a horse that I imagine, not the image of a horse. And this is why people with aphantasia tend to be in those STEM disciplines. The best resource for this, if you're interested in exploring it more, is to go to the Aphantasia Network. They don't just focus on aphantasia. Hyperphantasia is quite unusual as well. So those of you who have expressed that that's your visual imagination, there's probably about 10% of people who are hyperphantasic. So often people are more in the middle of the spectrum. We could spend a lot of time on this. This is just the first third of what we're going to do, so I'm going to move on. Just to say that imagination is a precursor to creativity. We've all got imagination, therefore we all have the potential to be creative. And we're going to explore creativity now. These are the 3 areas that are involved in our imagination and our creativity. The default mode network is the mind wandering of idea creation. The salience network is the one in which we attach emotional significance to it. Don't know if you've heard the idea that all decisions are emotional decisions first, and then we rationalize them with the central executive network. So all 3 are working at any one time. There's more in the book if you wanted to know more about creativity. But creativity is about having an original idea that's useful. That's the simple definition that Adam Zeman gives us. So we're going to move out of the desert now of aphantasia, sorry, metaphor, into a rich landscape of creativity. Now, I have been fascinated with creativity for a long time. I'm told I'm very creative, which is an interesting thought when you are aphantasic. So I'm passionate as to how creativity tends not to show up so much in the workplace. So I crowdsource these ideas on LinkedIn. I ask people in all these webinars I do. But it's really interesting when I ask this question, where are you when you have your most creative ideas? And when are you at your most creative? So yes, it's very rarely in the middle of the day when you're sitting around a boardroom table, or when you're in an event where you're asked to brainstorm something. It's usually when you allow that default mode network to go wandering. I'd love to know where you are and what's happening. when you have your most creative ideas. So, I mean, we might be lucky tonight. It might be the evening that you're at your most creative. This is an opportunity to have a go on the Slido poll. Just have a go at giving me some thought as to when you are at your most creative and where are you and what time is it. And I'll have a little look in the chat to see what people are saying there. Hopefully this is, yeah, I can see it's working now. So as I have a quick look at what people are saying in the chat, it's really interesting. Visualizing solutions and then turning them into words can be difficult for some people. Dreaming is a really good way of mind wandering. Interestingly, aphantasics can dream, so I do have images in my dreams, but they are not voluntary. They're involuntary images. So getting some great answers here. Let's have a look. What have we got? Oh, we've got a few people who are at the most creative now. That's lucky. If you're exercising while you're watching this, fab. In the shower, somebody like me there. The shower is a very relaxing space for mind wandering. Walking the dog. Yeah. You obviously haven't got my dog. He's he's not easy to relax around. Yeah, so interacting with other people and bouncing ideas off each other. We've got quite a few kind of in the night. It's true. This tends to be when our mind wanders and it's relaxed. It's very rarely. I haven't seen anyone say when I'm at work and I'm asked to do a brainstorming exercise. It just makes you wonder, doesn't it? Okay. Sitting in the garden early morning. That's lovely. Very poetic. Thank you. So, it's important when we are asking people to be creative is that we understand that this is asking them to be maybe a bit vulnerable. And I had this quote before with Maya Angelou and this quote next to it saying embarrassment is a partner in the creative act, because we come up with some pretty silly ideas sometimes, or so we're led to believe. But actually there are no bad ideas. There are no bad ideas. They can come from anywhere, anytime, as we've just seen. And what we need to do is create the conditions for this to happen. And hopefully I'll give you a little few ways that we can do that. So, how do you feel about the blank page? I mean, if you've got some paper in front of you, like I have here, I've got a blank page. When I do this as an exercise in a room, I'll have people with blank pages in front of them and ask them honestly, how do they feel when they look at that? And I'm going to ask you a few questions. So you might want to write down your answers to this as well and notice how you feel about a blank page. So once you've captured your feelings, yes, is this blank page in a notebook or not? No, let's just imagine it's a blank page. You're just given a blank page and you're asked to tell me what you think about it. You have to do something with it, but how do you feel about that? I know that I get a range of responses to that question, from absolutely excited, can't wait to get my hands on it, to absolutely terrified, I don't know what you're expecting me to do with this blank page, but I'm pretty unclear and unsure. So the next question is, well, what is it about the blank page that makes you say or believe that? Why is that something that comes up for you? Blank page for me is freedom, opportunity to express myself. I haven't got somebody else's imagery on there. I can put my own ideas down. What do you want to do with this blank page? At this point, I've got some people turning it into a paper aeroplane, scrunching it up, throwing it away, or writing on it. Sometimes in the room there are coloured pens there. They've got the coloured pens out. They've got permission to do whatever they want with this page. So what do you want to do with it? Making the first mark. It can be, can't it? But what is the result that you want? What do you want to achieve with this? And as you're thinking about this blank page, which is literally benign, hasn't done anything to you, what story are you telling yourself that makes you think that or feel that? Some people might be saying, well, I'm not creative. I can't. I don't know what you need me to do. I don't know how to show up here. This relationship with the blank page, the not knowing, is really important to understand before you do anything creative. And having thought about the answers to all of those questions, what else is true? Now you can see as a coach, these are very coaching type of questions. But this is about preparing your mind to do something maybe that you've not done before. Because I'm going to invite you to do something with your blank page and your pen. I've already told you it's probably poetry related. So for this next part of the session to be successful for you, what would you like to have happened by the end of it? It's a very open question. There are no right or wrong answers. Again, it's getting your mind into this space of being free to be creative. I have another Slido for you. What would you like to have happened? How can we make this environment now successful for you? If I'd said to you at the beginning, you're about to write a poem or you're about to write some poetry, how would you feel? What would you like to have happened by the end? Because that is what I'm going to ask you to do. Learn how to channel it. Thank you. Yeah, learn techniques to be more creative, get new ideas. That's lovely. Focused and playful at the same time. You need both. Encourage others to do it so you're not alone. Have maybe a plan how you're going to do it. I'm going to help give you some structure, so maybe that will help. Really simple exercises. One of them involves ideas. Motivate you to write again. We seem to lose some of the love of writing. I know in primary school, poetry plays a really fundamental part. In fact, it's often been described as the foundational development technique for the brain, which is why it helps us remember things. A couple more people just putting their thoughts in here, getting to the creative side, out of the logic side. Yeah, we need to do this in an intentional way. Okay, thank you everyone. That's really lovely. A really good resource. Well, we're about to do something. How creative are you really? Here's a primer. This is called the paperclip exercise. I don't know if anyone's heard of this. Has anyone heard of the paperclip exercise? I'm about to you're about to fill this blank piece of paper. You thought you were going to write a poem, but you're not. Not yet. I would like you to think of as many uses as you can for a paperclip, and I'm going to give you 1 minute to write down as many different uses as you can think of for a paperclip. And your time starts now. Okay, so we're halfway through. You've got 30 seconds left. Five seconds left. 3, 2, 1, stop. Okay, so you've had 1 minute to think about how many different uses you can think of for a paperclip. It'd be interesting to put those numbers in the chat if you don't mind. It'd be great to see what you got. I haven't got a poll for this one. I could have maybe done that. 9, 10, 8. Ooh. Amazing. If we were in a room together, which I love to do this, I get people to stand up, so we don't have to share our individual numbers, but it's really nice that you are doing, thank you. And these are very typical numbers. So I'll say to people, stand up, and if you've got 3 or less, sit down. And then we'll go 4 or less, 5 or less, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we would find if we did that the person who stayed standing would be Dagnar, who had 10. The next question is, what do you think is considered a genius level answer? What number would you think would be considered a genius level answer in that time scale? 10, 15. Okay. Yeah, not far off. So 9, 9 and above would be considered genius level. So this is an experiment that you have just done in 1 minute that was done over several years. It was a longitudinal study that was done by George Land and Beth Jarman in 1968, and it was originally designed as a test for NASA engineers and scientists on how innovative they were. And kind of giving you a hint of the next slide, I was just checking what that was. They did it over a period of years, and they did it with children below the age of 5. If you didn't see the slide, what do you think were the answers from children who were between 2 and 5? How many ideas did they come up with for the use of a paperclip? What do you think? Okay, so fewer, okay, a lot. That's interesting. They won't self-censor. Yeah, think about the minds and the imaginations of young children. So at age 5, I'll show you the slide now. 98% of children are at genius level thinking. For how many uses they can think of for a paperclip. And you know what, Petra? That's a really interesting question because it doesn't matter. Because the reason they're so creative is they don't know what a paperclip is made of when they are 3 to 5. So they imagine that the paperclip is 5 foot tall, and they imagine that it could be used for different things. So when I asked how many uses you could think of, their imagination wasn't bound by some of the things that hold us back as we go through education. So as we go through education, our ability to respond creatively to these types of questions is educated out of us. So that by the age of 25, and they did this study, like I say, it was longitudinal, by the age of 25, our natural creativity level in something like this is at 2%. If you've ever watched the Ken Robinson TED Talk, Do Schools Kill Creativity? This was the study that was behind his assertions, and his was an incredible TED Talk. If you haven't seen it, it's one of the most watched TED Talk. Exactly. Yeah, incredible. And this was the study behind that. For his assertion that creativity is there in all of us, that expression is there. So how does this happen? How do we lose this belief in ourselves to be creative? It's really quite simple. This is my logo, but it's a really good illustration of what happens. I'm just going to see, I think it might build, yeah. So to be creative, we have to think divergently. Divergent thinking is a precursor to creativity. So that exercise that we saw before, I'll just go back, measures divergent thinking. That's what's deteriorating through education systems. So this ability to open our minds up to different possibilities and different ideas. And then convergent thinking is, okay, so how can I apply that? So we have to have divergent thinking and convergent thinking, and in between is space for creativity. Why does it disappear in education? Because in education we get it the wrong way round. We teach children to think convergently. So we teach them to think towards an answer, towards an outcome, around a curriculum, and we break it down into subject areas that don't overlap. And those are artificial barriers to people's creative thinking. But the space for creativity is so much more diminished when we do our convergent thinking first and our divergent thinking afterwards. Exactly, Adrian. There's one right answer, and it's usually at the back of the workbook if you look for it. I do a whole thing around neurodiversity. You'll find that neurodivergent children aren't as limited in this way of thinking because their default mode network is running all the time. In the ADHD brains, that never switches off. So actually, their divergent thinking is constantly running. So whether they like it or not, they are divergently thinking all the time, which is why the distraction can happen so often. That's another talk for another day. But the space for creativity is lost through education, and we continue that pattern into employment, and then we have to teach people that actually that's not what real life is like, that actually there's way more possibility and opportunity if you open your mind and think divergently first. We're on to the third part of the session now. So we're going to do a little bit of reflection. And because I am aphantasic, I can't do meditation. The type of reflection I like to do is writing reflection. And when I feel overwhelmed, I'm unsure what's happening, and I need to stop and get distance from the world around me, then I will go into some reflective writing practice. And I've learned two important lessons in life. I can't recall the first one, but the second one is I need to start writing stuff down. This happened around about menopause, actually. You may or may not have heard of something called a free write. A free write sounds way more exciting when we called it wild writing. Wild writing is when you write stream of consciousness. So you're going to bring back that page that you had in front of you. You might want to turn over to a clean one. You might need some lines on this blank page because you're going to do some free writing. The wonderful thing about free writing, it's like the same thing when people say to you, dance like nobody's looking, write like nobody's watching and nobody's reading. Whatever you write here is for your eyes and yours alone. And this free writing opens up the what if. It moves away from the either or, the binary thinking, the convergent thinking. We're opening up this divergent thinking space now. I'll just a little tiny plug. I have a little neurodiversity poetry writing prompts book that opens up this space as well. I'm not going to use a prompt from there actually. It helps to have a focus for this what if rather than just going, oh, right, free. So here's the structure, here's the guidance to help you write. I thought balance might be a nice focus for today. So what if there's no such thing as work-life balance? It's all life. The balance has to be within you. So the free writing that I'd like you to do on the theme of balance is I am in balance when. And the way this works is I'm going to set my timer for 3 minutes, and I'm going to ask you to write and keep writing. Don't stop, even if your mind goes blank. Just write the prompt again. I'm in balance when. And let stream of consciousness just flow. Whatever comes out of that pen is absolutely fine. No editing, no critiquing, nothing. Just let the words flow. And if English isn't your first language, just use the language you feel most comfortable in. Like I said, no one's watching. Any questions on how to do that? No questions? I hope that means that everyone is going to have a go at this exercise. So I'm going to reset my timer. Like I say, I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and just start writing. I am in balance when, and the time starts now. And I'm going to join you in this exercise. The time starts now. You've got 1 minute left. Right, that's the time up. Oh, I hate that alarm. Okay, should have set a different sounding one. Finish. When I'm in a room and say finish your sentence, put your pen down. It sounds like an exam, doesn't it? I'm sorry for that, but just finish writing your last sentence. And when you've done that, I'd love you to read back what you've written, and I'd like you to pick out 3 words, 3 words that resonate with you. Um, so circle 3 keywords. You're going to take these into, we've done some divergent thinking, we're going to do some divergent writing, we're going to do some convergent thinking now. We're going to take that into some intentional lines of verse, and you can choose to do a haiku or not. That's the instruction. It's written as a haiku. If you've never heard of a haiku before, A haiku is a 3-line poem with a 5-syllable content, 7-syllable for the second line, and 5 syllables for the last line. So 5, 7, 5. Just write that down. Syllables are the sounds. So for example, I'll show you circle, 3 key words, 5 syllables, circles 2. Nin nim mum, 3 lines of verse, that's 7. A haiku or a haiku or not. Often when people are doing this exercise and they're doing the haiku, I can see them doing the hands, so I know people are trying to do the haiku. And when writing poetry, this constraint can really help. This structure can make you more creative. So take those 3 words that you've identified in that free write that you've done there and take them into 3 lines of verse. I'm going to give you another 3 minutes. I'm feeling generous today. 3 minutes to create a haiku or not. Take those 3 words starting now. I'm going to join you in this exercise. Okay, now then, if we were in a group together, I would ask people if they wanted to share anything. But we're coming to the end of the session today, and I'm hoping that at least you were able to write something freely without constraint, and that you were then maybe able to craft something that was very meaningful for you. And every time I do this and join in, I'm really moved by the things that I've written, but even more so moved by the things that others have written. And if you wanted to at all, share those in the chat. I would be honoured to read out your words. And I love to offer that to people because having your own words read by someone else is the best way of being heard. and it validates what you've put into the session tonight. But this is the end. And if you would rather just capture a feeling word, how you're feeling now, there's a word cloud you can contribute to here. But I love the fact that you have put stuff in the chat. Please let me read some of these. This is amazing. Marie France has said, clarity I seek, equilibrium beckons, calm I will achieve. That's so lovely. Meredith has said, time is a comfort and choosing to play a game, a bright idea. Adrian, look at this nature coming into these. Adrian's written, open in newness, happy seagulls are dancing, laughter surrounds us. I've got birds in mine as well, Adrian. That's really interesting. Wishing for balance. This is Debbie's. Wishing for balance, productively working to peacefully exist. That's got a really nice way of rolling off the tongue. That's really nice. Dagna has written, back off now. Stop sign, right of way on the edge. Come on, let it roll. Fabrizio, my integrity resides at the moment when I am focused. You see, what you've created here are mantras that help you get back into balance. So not only have you written some poetic insight of your own, this is your own recipe and mantra for how to get yourself back into balance when you feel unbalanced or feel out of odds. It's a mindset approach. I'll read all the ones that have been written. Marianne's written, friends make me content. Strong and powerful exist when I am myself. I can feel the power in that one. Helena has written, happy, chill and calm. Completed all tasks today. Time to relax now. I can feel that sense of achievement in that. Amazing. And then Jessica's written, out in the fresh air, harvest creativity, snuggling life and love. Oh, that's such a cuddly haiku. I love that. You've all been amazing. You are feeling peaceful, happy, relaxed, energized, optimistic, comfortable. That's brilliant. And this is the kind of mindset and thing that you can do with poetry, which for me, I think makes it one of the most powerful tools that we've got as leaders, as supporters of human endeavour and human enterprise. The more humanity we can bring into organisations in this way, I think the better and more creative and innovative they will be. Thank you. Thank you for letting me join you today.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Kate, for a really fantastic session there. I know I got a huge amount out of it, as I'm sure everyone did who is tuning in, judging by the number of emojis that are coming up here. So just before, if you do have any questions, type them in the Q&A tab. We've got a few minutes for maybe one or two questions. But just while you're thinking of any questions, I will just put a link to Kate's LinkedIn page in the chat, because I always think a good way of giving a speaker a virtual round of applause is to connect with them on LinkedIn, and that way you can stay in touch with what they're doing. And now's probably a good time, Kate, to ask you about the conference you are hosting.
I'm pleased you asked me that. I've got a QR code. So I'm passionate about showcasing the power of poetry in business, and I founded the Poetry in Business Conference last year, and it's the second year that it's run. So this year, our keynote speaker talks about poetic intelligence in a world of AI, and really how the two are not mutually exclusive. We have a panel who will talk about marketing and message making and how poetry can really help there. But basically, follow the QR link and find out more about it. I'd love to see some of you there.
Fantastic. We'll definitely leave that QR code on the screen. We have probably time for just one question. So Anna asks, And this is a really good question, but a really broad one. But what other specific techniques you can recommend for us to increase our creativity going forward? I'm sure there are many techniques you could mention, but any that spring to mind, Kate?
So I would suggest that activities that you feel when you are in flow, when you feel that you are in flow and your mind and your body are working as one, you are probably in your poetic potential. So notice when those moments are, first of all, and allow more of them into your life. Divergent thinking comes when your brain is able to wander freely as well. So some of the things you already put up, the things that you know make you feel creative, do more of those. Um, if you want to explore more poetry to help with your creativity, I have a partnership with a poetry pharmacy, and they've made these wonderful little poetry anthologies. And they do say that reading more poetry can help with your divergent thinking. So just reading a poem and spending time with it can help. So that's three ideas for you there.
Fantastic. It's kind of as you were speaking there, Kate, I was thinking sometimes it's about inviting the creativity in a way. And just as you were speaking there, I was thinking, oh, I wonder like when have I felt least creative? And I think I felt least creative when I've been so busy that I
Mm,
don't have any mental capacity to think about anything other than the completely pointless tasks that I'm working on,
yeah.
which no one's going to care about in 10 years' time. Um, so maybe there's maybe being bored isn't such a bad thing
I
sometimes.
think being bored is useful. Reframe it as a poetic pause.
I like that, a poetic pause, and what a wonderful idea to round off the session on. So, Kate, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. I can see from the number of emojis that are coming up that people have found this really valuable. If you have attended live, please do connect with Kate. Check out the conference on the QR code there. If you're attending live, do just stay on for just a few more minutes. I have just a couple of other announcements for you that you won't want to miss out on. Um, the first is our next webinar. So we have a webinar coming up in November, which is completely free to attend, of course. And that is entitled The Cheshire Cat and the Entrepreneurial BA Rethinking Target State with Nick Devoyle. That's on the 27th of November. I've just put a link to it in the chat there, so do go and register for that. Nick Devoyle is an excellent presenter, and this was actually a session that was at the BA Conference Europe, and I couldn't attend it because I had a schedule clash. So rather selfishly, I'm also scheduling this one just so I can see Nick's presentation because I would have missed it otherwise. But do take a look at that. And the other thing to mention, I'm sure many of you already will be aware of, and I have this behind me here, BA Digest, which is a completely free quarterly PDF magazine. If you aren't aware of it, you can go to badigest.link. So I'll just drop that in the chat as well. That is badigest.link. You don't even need to register. The Q4 version is out very recently, and it's like 60 plus pages of business analysis related stuff. But even if you're not a business analyst, there may well be stuff in there which may be of interest because I'm a deep believer in like interdisciplinary, sort of molding those, blurring those edges. So all that's left for me to say is, Kate, massive thank you for being here.
Thank you for
Um,
having me.
you're most welcome, and a massive thank you to everyone who has attended live or who has watched the recording. So take care, everyone. Hope to see you somewhere soon, and bye for now.